You're listening to the Time to Level Up podcast. I'm your host, business life coach Andrea Liebross. I help women in business commit to their own growth personally and professionally. Each week, I'll bring you strategies to help you think clearly, gain confidence, make your time productive, turn every obstacle into an opportunity, and finally overcome the overwhelm so that you can make money and manage life. Let's create a plan so you have a profitable business, successful career, and best of all, live with unapologetic ambition. Are you ready to drop the drama and figure out the how in order to reach your goals? You're in the right place. It's time to level up. Let's do this. Hey, Time to Level Up listeners, welcome back to the podcast. So today I have an amazing episode for you. I had the opportunity to chat with Ciara Stockeland, and she too is a coach. She coaches primarily retail business owners, and she coaches them on creating the foundational pieces of their business, one of which is the ability to look at the numbers. So we talk all about numbers in this episode and why it is important for you to know your numbers. Now, I think knowing your numbers is important for any business owner, not just retail. And the information we share here can actually be used by people who even aren't business owners. This stuff excites me, and her way of looking at it, I felt was super clear and very helpful. So sit back, buckle up, and listen in to my conversation with Ciara. Hey, Time to Level Up listeners, welcome back to the podcast. Today, I have with me a guest expert, but she's way more than a guest expert, Ciara Stockeland, and I'm going to just let her introduce herself, and then you'll probably figure out why I invited her to come on.
Hey, good morning. Well, I'm excited to visit with you, and thanks for tuning in, everyone. I am Ciara, third-generation entrepreneur from North Dakota, believe it or not. So really used to cold weather, and I'm really excited that we get a beautiful fall right now as we're heading into our winter season. So a third-generation entrepreneur here. My grandpa and dad both own small business. And so what would be more natural than me doing the same thing? So I started my first little business at the age of 13, built that and grew that for a while, then headed into another venture, a retail, which really brought me to where I am today. So I'm excited to visit with you about my life's journey in the small business world.
So what's interesting about Ciara is that, I am an entrepreneur as well, but I am not in a retail space, although I have been. So I have done both, and it's the same and it's all different. I think, yes. Right? It's the same and all different. I think, well, first of all, tell us about your retail business now.
Yeah. So I no longer have brick and mortar retail, which is, I'm so glad to be on from that chapter. Mm-hmm. But what I do now is help other product-based businesses, retailers, wholesalers, really build a strong foundation. Because when I launched in 2006 with my first brick and mortar store, I did it because I knew I wanted to sell a beautiful product. I knew I could sell to anyone. I wanted to help women. I wanted to build a brand. But nobody told me that having a good foundation by knowing your numbers and really understanding the backside was so important to growth. And so when I got out of the brick and mortar space several years ago and just started chatting with boutique owners around the country, and they were asking me questions that I had the answers to, I thought, you know what, I can't just hold on to this information and not share it. And so from that was born a coaching business where I work with product-based businesses on foundational pieces. So the things that they're typically scared of, nervous about, or don't even know, like me, that I knew I needed to know. So that's where we are.
Yeah. And those numbers, I mean, yes. That, like, no matter what business, everybody's always scared to know the numbers or to dig in, but they know they need to know them. Like, they know they should know them, and they need to know them. And they probably know they need better systems in keeping track of them. But
where do you even start?
Where do you start? Like, that's the big but.
I know. And I was talking to a retailer just a couple weeks ago, actually, and she said, I know I should look at them, but I don't even want to look at them. And so that happens a lot of times too. Like, I know this doesn't feel right. I know I never have cash. I know I'm not paying myself, but I'd rather just avoid it. And so we just work through how we can simply take a peek at things, how we can break things down in a really simple, non-scary, I like to say non-scary way. It doesn't have to be intimidating, but when you have information, it's so powerful because you can't make change if you don't have the right information. And so that's what I help other retailers and product-based businesses do.
So I just last week started thinking about, you can't improve anything you don't measure. Right. You can't, I mean, I didn't start thinking that, but that sentence popped into my head, right? You can't improve anything that you don't measure, which is totally true in any business.
Yes.
So, all right. So why do you think they don't want to look at the numbers?
I think there's a couple reasons. Sometimes it's because you feel really stupid, right? Like, I don't understand it, and I should understand it because I own a business. So who am I going to ask? I feel silly. I feel awkward. So I'll just avoid it. So that could be one reason. Sometimes I think it's just, I've let this go on for too long. What's the point now in like doing it? It's more, even though it's painful the way that I'm existing, it's more comfortable to exist this way because I know it. And so I'll just kind of keep going on and then complaining to myself, but it's more comfortable to stay.
Yep.
And then I think some, just don't know that it's even something they should focus on, so a lot of times I hear from retailers, product-based businesses, boutique owners, like, how many times should I be posting on social media? Should I have a photographer? Like, that's what they're being told over and over and over is going to fix the cash flow problem. And so when I say actually, and it's so funny because a lot of people don't believe me until we start talking a little bit more, but I'm like, actually your problem right now is not how many times you post on social media. It's the fact that you aren't managing your inventory because you don't even know how much inventory you own. And so if we can actually figure out how much inventory you own and what you should own and how that should move and turn, those are all numbers.
Yep.
You'll know naturally how and when to post on social media. And so I think, one of those three reasons is what I most often find when retailers or product-based business owners aren't focused on the right things.
That's interesting too, because I get the same question. How often should I post? What platform should I post on? And I myself sometimes think about that stuff too. But I think, they need to manage their inventory. And I always say, and my clients need to manage their minds.
Yeah.
They need to manage their minds and figure out what is their inventory in a sense, if it's more of a service-based business, or if they're working if they're an employee even, like their thinking is their inventory, or that is their intellectual property or proprietary.
Yes.
That's proprietary to them. And if they have a better handle on that, then you're right. The posting comes naturally, or the whatever comes naturally. But I think also, I don't know about you, but I always say we also want to do the passive actions, not the.
Yes. We want to do the fun things too.
Right.
Yeah. The stuff that's not too hard. Yeah.
Right. It's not super uncomfortable. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. So looking at numbers. So let's say, they say, yes, okay, I know I should start looking at this. Like, you're right. How does one even, what's a baby step that they could take? What's a baby step?
So I have kind of a method, I do have a method that I go through. So first we kind of back up and we look at the big picture. What is your goal? And it's interesting to me because a lot of business owners don't even have a goal written down.
I know. Right? What is up with that?
I think that too is they feel fraudulent. How could I put a goal down when I don't know what I'm going to do? Yeah. And I said, well, that's the purpose of a goal. We aren't going to know, and we might not hit it, but we might exceed it, but we won't know unless we put that down. So first we say, okay, what's your goal? And so when I'll talk to a boutique owner, I'll say, what's your goal for the next month? What's your goal for the next 6 months? What's your goal for the next year? And that's very scary, but we'll put that down. Okay. So now we have this goal. Let's say it's $250,000 in the next 12 months. Now let's break that down. So everything that I do, I take it and I break it down. So we break that down. And then next we look at what goes into making that goal. So what is your current margin? So if you want to sell $250,000 worth of product, what is that product going to cost you? And then we'll look at what you're spending in your business right now. So what are your expenses? So it's basically following a profit and loss statement. We just make our way down with those 4 numbers: sales at the top, cost of goods, or what the cost is going to be of those sales. What does that leave you with? What are you spending? And then what does that all leave you with? And does that make enough sense? So you might have a $250,000 goal, but you have no idea and your margin's out of control and you're way overspending in your business because you're trying all the posting apps and you're doing all the magic fixes, right?
Right.
And so at the end of the day, will that $250,000 leave you with a profit? And if not, we go back up to the top and we just keep working our way down. So that's the process that I use that really simplifies down. It doesn't have to be complicated or scary.
It doesn't have to be complicated. You're right.
No.
In the goal piece. So I also find that sometimes, especially women entrepreneurs, have what I call fuzzy goals.
Yes.
I just want to make money. Well, make money so that you break even, make money that you have money in the bank so that you can reinvest in your business, or make money to support your family. Like, we got all sorts of options.
Well, fuzzy goals are comfortable too.
They are.
Because if we don't define them, then we don't ever have to hold ourselves accountable to anything.
Yes. Well, and then you end up running into the whole, if I don't I'd rather not have it, because if I don't have it and I don't make it, then I'm not disappointed in myself.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. Talk to me about that margin. Okay. So do we increase pricing? Do we cut margins? Do we cut expenses? I mean, these are all questions that I've get to.
Yes.
What do I do? What do you think?
Yeah. So I'm Profit First certified. So we work a lot on what Profit First would call real revenue. In the boutique space or product base, we say gross margin, right? So you have your sales. Let's say you made $10 today because you sold 1 pair of jeans, and that pair of jeans cost you $5. So your gross margin would be $5. So you sold 10, it cost you 5, you have $5 left. That's the gross margin. And so if it costs you $5 to run your business every day, you're then left with 0 at the end of the day. Your net profit is 0. So we have options, like you mentioned. We could raise the price of that pair of jeans to $12.
Right.
It still costs us 5. Now we have 7 left to work with. It only costs us 5 to run our business. And so now we have $2 at the end of the day that we get to keep. So we could raise the price. We could lower the cost. So we could get smarter and buy a different brand of jeans that cost us $4 instead of 5.
Yep.
We can eliminate some of that $5 in expenses. We can cut out $1 here or there. All of those things will add more profit to the bottom. If we can do all 3, even in small steps, it's more and more net profit we get to keep. And so usually we'll just talk about what is easiest for you. Where's the lowest hanging fruit right now? Could we just increase everything by $1? Could we go back and negotiate better rates? Or could you review your expenses and eliminate? And so we'll just start with one of those things. And then as we feel like, okay, now we have that under control. Now let's go back and let's look at the next of the 3 ways to add additional profit in. So that margin piece can come from different ways, either increasing prices or lowering cost. And every business has a easier or lower hanging fruit when it comes to margin.
Do people gravitate towards cutting expenses first? I'm just sort of curious.
Yes. Nobody wants to raise prices.
Yeah,
so that's the hardest one.
Yeah.
Which actually, funny enough, is the easiest one.
I know.
And it is way less scary than you think. So I always say, if you went through your entire store, if I'm working with a brick and mortar or I'm working with an online and they have a website, okay, let's go through your entire store. I want you to raise every single item by just $2. I can't. People will stop shopping with. No, they won't. No, they won't. They won't stop shopping with you. They won't even notice. So that's actually the easiest. But what they like to do is look at eliminating expenses. And while that's really good, and I like it because you can get a quick win, you cannot build your business on eliminating expenses. So it is good to do that at the beginning. You need to look at that because we all overspend. We get very wasteful, especially if a lot of income's coming in. It's easy to just buy things and spend things and not even notice all the memberships and subscriptions.
Right.
So it's good to do that, but you can't build a business by continuing to just lower expenses to make more profit. You have to either lower the cost of your inventory and or increase your prices or volume. That's another piece that comes in. Like we can just sell more of those $10 jeans.
Right.
So then we have extra. That's another option in there too.
So interesting, because I thought you were going to say that people shy away from raising things.
And that's because we're very insecure. A lot of us as entrepreneurs are very insecure and we don't value our worth. And how, yes, the next door neighbor boutique, she might be selling those jeans as well, but her customer service is awful. Or, you know, like what sets you apart so that you can charge 12 instead of 10. Let's talk about that and adding value instead of saying, well, I have to stay low to compete. And
okay, so talk to me about adding value, because this is something that just came up this morning, adding value. How do you, I know how I define it, but how do you define it?
Yeah. So this is interesting with product-based businesses because they really don't think about this at all. So they think about their product and what it's going for in the general market. And I just need people to see it and buy it. But if you want to grow as a retailer, product-based business, you have to think about value before, value during, value after. So value before would be what makes you so different? Like, how are you serving? What problem are you solving for your customer? Yes, I know you're selling denim. Great. So, and you and 5 bazillion other boutiques, right?
Right.
So what problem are you solving that makes someone want to come to you to buy those jeans? That's the value before. And maybe it's the denim blog. Maybe it's how you fit your denim. Maybe it's, you know, you're really good at like helping women understand how to wear denim throughout the year. I don't know, whatever value that
create
is.
outfits
and then
with denim.
Right. Like, yeah. So think about serving that value before. Value during, we all do, right? That's our customer service. Like, here you go, good return policy, and so forth and so on. Value after is another thing that we miss out on as product-based businesses. So they made the denim sale. Great. Now what? How are you going to keep them in that loop to bring them back again? And so really helping, like I really work with boutique owners on understanding their value before, during, and after, and how to turn that into something that's much more valuable than the pair of jeans themselves. And when you can grasp that, you have no problem charging more for your pair of jeans.
Totally true. Totally true. I shop at a local boutique and she is always texting images. And
value after,
right. Although sometimes I'm like, but then when I see it, I'm like, oh, I like that. Right. And I don't really mind. And you know what? You can always unsubscribe.
That's
right?
what I say. Unsubscribe, scroll past it. Who cares? Delete the email. We need to stop overthinking like, oh, how many times should I send it in a way that makes sense for you as a business owner and be front of mind. Yeah. And if they don't like it, they'll leave it. Like, you don't have to worry about that.
I mean, because I know I will just, I don't have a problem unsubscribing and I'm not doing it in a mean or spiteful way.
Right.
Like, whatever. Right.
And then when we want something, I've so many times unsubscribed and like, oh, now I'm ready. I'm going to subscribe again. Exactly. Because now I want it. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally. Yes. So what do you what's your biggest piece of advice to business owners or entrepreneurs? Retail.
I know this is not sexy or flashy, but you have to know your numbers. Okay. And when I say know your numbers, what does that mean? It means, what is your margin? How much inventory do you own? Those kinds of numbers. It doesn't mean you have to be an accountant. You need to do your own bookkeeping. You need to balance your own checkbook. You can hire all those things out. But when you have a bookkeeper and they give you a profit and loss statement, what does it mean? Like, you should be able to look at that. And in 5 minutes, it should take you no longer than that ever. You should be able to just scroll through that profit and loss and say, oh, this doesn't look right. This is off. Wow, I hit my metric there. You have to understand what the numbers mean because that's what grows the business. Tracking and measuring the right things comes from understanding what you need to track and measure in the first place.
So do you think it's helpful to outsource that kind of stuff?
I do, because retailers, product-based business owners, we tend to be very creative. So let's not sit and scratch our head and pull our hair out balancing our QuickBooks accounts every week. If we can hire that out for $250 a month and take that time and put it into revenue generating activities that we're actually good at, then let's go ahead and do that. If you love it, great, do it yourself. But that's something people don't want to outsource it.
If they're coming to you, they don't love it.
They don't love it. No. But then we fight with but do I really need it? So I always say, yes, you need the point of sale manages your inventory. The accounting system manages your cash. How can you grow a business if you don't have both pieces? You have to have an accounting system.
But then, Ciara, that's another expense. Like this is right.
It is, but you're missing out on revenue because you don't see what's going on in your business. You're only seeing half, if even half of the story. And you can't grow revenue if you don't know where the leaks are, where you're bleeding cash. And so you have to have the accounting. You've got to output that instead of saying, well, I'm just going to, I'm going to try to grow this business, but I'm only going to ever see half of the puzzle. Mm-hmm. It will just never work. And sometimes business owners will grow really quickly. Like I work with, hey, I'm $1 million boutique owner and my stuff's out of control. Like it doesn't mean that you can't grow in the sales side of things, but I'll always say, how much margin are you missing out on? How much larger could your paycheck be if we could look at, what your numbers are? So it doesn't mean that, because you might say, someone that's listening, oh, but like I'm $1 million store, or I'm growing really quickly and I don't have an accounting system. So I don't believe you. Like you actually don't have to have it all. You can grow, but you're going to come to a point where you're going to see that you're missing out on so much cash opportunity because you don't have that foundation built.
And then I would add, and they're missing out on so much having freedom within their business.
Yes.
Being tied to yes, you've grown and you're selling more and more and more, but you're there for more and more hours or whatever, right? You're
overwhelmed. Oh, speaking of that, because I know you work so much with this, with your clients, time management. That's another thing people go like, oh my goodness, I'm so overwhelmed. I can't manage my time. It's because they don't know their numbers. Like it all comes back to that.
It is.
Because you don't know where you're making your money, where you're losing on opportunity if you don't know the metrics behind the business.
And you also don't know how much time you're spending on social media, right?
All the things.
All the things. Yes. Well, this has been super fun and helpful. And
thank you.
Thanks for joining me today. If you want to follow Ciara and learn more about working with her, you can find all of her info in the show notes. But I think Instagram is your favorite social media handle, is it not?
Yeah, Instagram, just C Stockeland. Make sure to have the E in there. But yeah, that's where I hang out. And I have a couple free masterclasses, Inventory Genius and Profit First. They're both free. So the perfect place to start, if you're just looking at starting to dabble in the numbers and just understanding what that means, would be either my free Inventory Genius Masterclass or my free Profit First Masterclass. Both of those you can find at theboutiqueworkshop.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me. It's been
Thank you for having me. It was great. It's always good to visit with another coach helping women really build an amazing life. So thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
So that conversation ended rather quickly because we were having technical difficulties, but that doesn't matter. What matters is the learning that came out of it. One of my biggest takeaways was her statement that you can't grow a business by eliminating expenses. The only way to grow a business is to make more profit. That's a pretty powerful statement. Just like information is powerful. So, have you taken a look at your numbers lately? Probably you've glanced at them, but have you taken a deeper look at your numbers? There's the amazingness when you take a deeper look and you learn how you can use those numbers to your advantage. So, it's the beginning of a new year. It's a great time to look at numbers and to create goals. What's your goal? A lot of you don't even have a goal, a specific goal. So let's chat. Reach out, direct message me, send me an email. I would love to talk about numbers. And this is something that I am going to bring more into my podcast in the coming year, both business numbers and personal numbers, because numbers are powerful. All right, my friends, have a great rest of your day. And remember, looking at numbers, that's a great way to upgrade your thinking and to level up in life and business. Talk soon.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you're ready to commit to personal and professional growth, move forward, make money, and manage life, head to AndreaLiebross.com. That's AndreaLiebross.com to find out about the ways we can work together. Until next time, go level up.